Hey guys, welcome to MYC Uncensored. You're here with Keshia. I'm a third year psychological science student. I just graduated and I'm doing my graduate diploma in psychology advanced. And I'm here with
Satini. Hey
um,
guys.
you know her. So today we're talking about healthy habits for healthy relationships, which is an important topic, especially on Valentine's Day, which is today.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Galentine's.
The Galentines is more important. Everyone's working because it's a Wednesday, but it's okay. So I guess we'll get into it. So the first topic I think I'd like to talk about is the importance of getting consent. Because that's the initial stage of every relationship, and I think that's really important. I think even asking someone to be on Valentine's is getting consent.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think, but it's very important, I think, even when you're already in a relationship, because I think some guys or some people, they don't realize that you still have to ask for permission in a relationship because they get too comfortable, I guess. And for some context, I'm like currently in a 2 or something year relationship. And I think it's really important to keep asking permission, no matter how small it is. I think it just validates that you care about the other person's opinion and decisions. And it's respectful. It's a respectful way to have a relationship. Getting consent is not awkward. It's not icky. It's respectful. And, you know, if you respect the person and you want to be in a relationship with them, and you want it to be in a healthy way, I think it's important to get consent. So just asking permission, whatever it may be, whether it be to hold hands. Can I hold your hand? Or, you know, anything like, I don't know, intimate or anything like that. It's very important to get consent, no matter how big or small. I think,
I just want to add on that, like, it is very, very important. Like, whether you're already in a relationship together or, like, you know, just talking stage, like, just consent is very important overall. And if you want to say no, then no, like, then say no. It's completely okay. And then if the person respects you, then they'll take that no and listen.
I agree with that. I think another thing is, even if you can't say no, which is very important, if you're in a state where you can't respond, you're like, I don't know, you had a wild night out, and like you're unconscious or like you're really drunk and you're hungover and you can't say no, that's still no, right? It's not like giving anyone consent. I think it's really important, I guess, with Valentine's Day or like, you know, I guess in today's day and age, everyone's gone clubbing and raving. It's very important to, I guess, have people with you and not be alone when those circumstances occur. Say for guys asking you to go home with them. It's very important for at least someone to be sober, so they're able to vouch for you and say no. Because those situations can be very messy. Especially, it can be very messy. So I think it's important to realize that even if you can't say no, if your body posture says no, it still means no.
And then don't be afraid to, I mean, it's easier said than done for some,
100%.
but like, don't be afraid to reach out to like someone that you trust or like the authority and just be like, hey, like this happened to me. I didn't allow it. And then, you know, proceed with whatever has to happen.
Exactly. But
and well, I guess continuing from that, like another part of consent, or just being in a in a healthy relationship, that is healthy and effective communication, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, like with the consent, healthy and effective communication, talking to each other, no matter how big or small, because I know we all have those petty fights with our partners. Like it's part of a relationship, right? But it's communication. Like, that's how you communicate. That's how they know what you're thinking and vice versa. Healthy communication, I think, goes a long, long way because no one can read each other's minds as much as I would like to think my partner can and expect him to. Like, ask me to be his Valentine.
Like, and like, you know, I know damn well, like, us girls know, like, we be giving the silent treatment and be like, nah, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong.
Oh my God.
But there's everything wrong, right? We got a whole list.
Yeah. I think we're all culprit to nothing's wrong, I'm fine. But we're not. And I think honestly, I'm still realizing it too. I'm still realizing the importance of actually saying what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because I think we all just don't like to be an inconvenience. We don't like to feel like we're being a burden to our partner.
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, they work or like they obviously have their own lives, their own family issues, or whatever it may be, and we don't want to be a burden. But I think in any relationship, I always had this mentality that if the person wants to be in a relationship, a long-term healthy relationship, they would take the time to listen, because at the end of the day, what affects you affects them. And I think it's very important to just be open about it. Even if it's not the right time, be like, can we talk about it later? But still just opening up, because I think it's very important, and it ultimately affects how you are in your own relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you're upset, you're going to be upset at your partner. It just comes out that way, and it's not great.
They're going to be the punching bag.
100%. And as sad as it is, like... it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah.
I think I always struggled with, I guess, speaking up, not even just to my partner, even to my friends, because I think I grew up in a family where it just wasn't common talking about your issues. It just was like, deal with it and move on. Everyone goes through issues. You're not the only one. And I think it's a very toxic mentality to have. Don't have that mentality. No, I think it's a lot better nowadays. I think people do talk about it, but I think, you know, I'm from Brown, so I'm from Brown culture. Yeah, so we both know those toxicities, and I think it's good to change them. I think we need to break the cycle.
Yes, break it.
So yeah, it's very important. It's very important to address anything, if you can, right then and there that comes up in a relationship, whether it be with your friends or anything, because at the end of the day, you know, you guys are leaning on each other. You know, you're sharing your lives together. So why wouldn't you? Isn't my question.
I do want to say, because this is like completely random, but I just had a thought that I was talking to someone the other day, and we're talking about this topic, and then we were talking about how, like, she's been with her partner for ages, and for when they have fights, like, her partner is very, like, quiet, doesn't say anything, keeps to themselves. But for her, like, the communication is so important that at that moment, if they're having a fight, she wants to sit down and, like, talk it out straight away. So, like, what kind are you?
I would... Oh, look, I'm a bit of both. I'm not going to lie. I think it depends on what the fight's about. If I started it, which I often do, I think I am the one to, like, I just want to get it out. Because you just want to vent to someone at that time that you're really, really angry or upset. And then after a while, I would go back and I'd be like, okay, I realized I was being a little shit. Excuse my language. Anyway, I was being really horrible to you, and I'm sorry. I would apologize, of course, and I would usually ask him, you know, how did that make you feel? He would be the quiet one. He would get sad, and that's how I feel guilty. That's how I would know that I did something wrong, which is kind of like good of him, I guess, because I need to know what I'm doing wrong. But when the turntables, I get quiet. I think when he's upset at me, like, I would say the boundary is, like, make sure you're not getting physical, of course. Make sure it's communication, like, just clear communication. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to get physical. That's very important.
You're talking to me.
I think that's important. So yeah, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I answered that properly, actually.
No, you did. You're a little bit of both.
A little bit of
yeah.
both.
And I think that's the same. I'm sure many of the listeners are probably the same. Like, just depending on,
What are you?
who's like wrong or right.
I'm curious.
I'm a little, okay. I'm a little toxic, right? Like,
She's
because
exposing herself right now.
okay, I don't want to, like, I'm not really big into, like, star signs or something, but I think, like, I have the, like, really dominant traits of, like, a Libra. So I'm, like, I don't like confrontation, but if I am angry at them, like, I'm coming at you.
Oh, no.
I was like,
oh, my God. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, like, excuse me. Like,
oh, my God. Don't mess with her.
So,
Jeez.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's scary.
No, I'm not
You're
bad.
like, I'm dominating when I want to be.
But it's very, like, for me, I'm the type as well, like, I don't, to me, like, getting angry and stuff is too much of my energy.
Yeah, it
So
is. It
I'm
takes a lot of
like,
energy.
Sometimes I'll just brush things off.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget.
Oh, yeah. Forgive, not forget.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones where you bring it up later. No,
oh, actually, I sometimes do that, not gonna lie. You're like, a couple days later, so you remember that time? And you just freaking ruin the whole mood.
No, but see, we're all working on healthy
ourselves.
communication and just healthy
100%. I think also I know there's that saying where, you shouldn't go to bed angry. And I think that's true. I think that's important not to do because it just sets you up for a bad day the next day, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get it solved, or at least like on the same wavelength, the same day. So you see eye to eye and you kind of get it somewhat resolved because I don't know, it's important to not go to sleep angry because I always think that, you should start the next day fresh and, you shouldn't, I don't know, you don't know when your life's going to end, which is kind of morbid.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, don't want to get deep, but that's true. Like, you never know when tomorrow's promised. So.
Exactly, yeah.
You'll just have to suck it up, guys.
Just suck it up, your petty fights. Your petty fights is actually way better than having, like, really, really bad fights.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I agree. I think, like, from what I've heard from, like, my friends' relationships, like, they have, like, bad fights, but our petty fights are more constant, which I think is a little bit better because they're not that serious.
Yeah,
like, we can brush it off, and I think that's, like, the good thing about it. And as you, like, go through your relationship, I think you, like, get to that stage where you're like, this is such a stupid fight.
Yeah.
It's you two against the world, like, the problem.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important mentality to have.
True.
Why is there drums in the background?
You're sorry,
I don't know
guys.
if you
We
can hear
forgot
that.
to mention that there's a lot of, like, things happening. So if you hear
It's getting crazy in
the
here.
sound during during the recording, then please don't mind us. As I've already said in another podcast, it'd be hot in here.
It's very
So just
hot.
bear with us until we upgrade and get a nice fan or a nice aircon.
Please fund us. I'm kidding.
So,
Go fund me. Go fund us a fan.
Donations.
We're accepting donations for a fan, please.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
I think another important part of having a healthy relationship is setting boundaries and maintaining your own personal space. I think for some people, they think because you're in a relationship you have to be clingy, like together 24/7 or just constantly in each other's space. But I think when you allow some air, some space between you, that'll also kind of make you realize how much more you value your
100%.
your partner.
I think, like, the saying is, like, distance makes the heart grow fonder, which I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think, like, setting boundaries with, like, how often you see each other is important, and also with yourself, like how precious your time is. Like, everyone has other commitments. I think one of the other things is, I know in the initial stage, the honeymoon stage, you want to see your partner 24/7.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna marry them and whatnot, and, like, sure, you might, but I think it's like, think about it. If you're going to be with them long term, you're going to eventually move in one day. You're going to see each other every day, like, at some point. I think, like, in your initial stages, ensure, like, you remember you have your own life, you have your own work or school commitments, and you really, like, love that or miss that person more when you don't see them as often. I think for me and my partner now, honestly, we just set one day aside, or even if it's a one day on the weekend or during the week, because we work, like, a lot, and we study as well. It's tough right now. And as much as we miss each other, I think that's very important to keep your own life still with you, to, like, remember you have a life outside of your partner, remember your friendships, making time for your friends as well. I realize, like, in today's day and age, I knew a couple of friends that forgot all about their friends when they found a partner. They just stopped hanging out with me. Anyway, but just in general, I think it's very important to just remember you have friends, make time for your friends as well as your partner. Like, don't forget about the personal life that you already have before them. I think an important thing is your partner should add to your life, not take away from it.
I was literally going to say that. Like, you just read my mind.
It's like with the telepathy.
Yeah, they should add to your life, you know, not, like, bring you down or, like, make you less greater than you are. Or that you could be.
I think, like, from your goals that you had before your partner, you should still continue to strive towards them, is what I say. And personal space, again, not seeing your partner every day as much as you want to. Like, you still have text, like, in today's day and age, you have video call, like, it's not that deep. Like, FaceTime, text each other, it's really not that deep. I had, like, previous experiences where I, like, couldn't see my partner, like, for months at a time, and it was really hard, and I really, like, shout out to, like, all those people who are doing long distance. I really respect what you do, and, you know, it's gonna be worth it in the end, because I have a friend that's dating someone from the army, and they're, like, been far apart, and I used to date someone from the army as well. So I really feel for them. It's hard. It's really hard, and if you both want it to work, it will work. But I think setting boundaries is very important for a healthy and long-lasting relationship.
And then just quickly add, like, especially for personal space and stuff, I think it's important to not be too comfortable. I think it can get to a stage where relationships where it's like you've been with each other for this amount of time, like, oh, I don't have to put in the effort because, you know, we're already at that stage, you know. So I think just trying to not be too comfortable, still doing finding time to do new things together, or still showing appreciation in, like, I don't know, their love language, your love language or something.
I think as you grow together, you learn each other's love languages. And it's important to stay interested and stay curious about your partner. Like, don't be like, oh, I know everything about them. Like, you know, it's important to always plan, I would say, regular dates. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It can just be watching a movie together, just getting dinner after work or something. Because I know, like, me and my partner found that very important when we weren't able to see each other for weeks at a time. And it's hard, especially when you come from a cultural background like us, and, you know, your parents may not approve of that relationship. So it's hard to even bring them home or, like, go to their home, because it's, like, the same.
Excuse me.
So it's like you can only hang out outside, right? And it's very, very hard. So you have to make that time count, is very important. But also, stay curious, stay interested. Don't just, don't forget, I would say, the initial stages of a real relationship. Because I think embrace how well you know each other, but, you know, stay interested. And put the effort in, I would say. Effort is very important.
I do want to ask a question. See, I always have, like, different scenarios and stuff in my brain. But, like, and this will kind of, like, lead us into the next topic. But, like, do you think being clingy is a red or green flag?
Ooh, I think there's a healthy amount of clinginess for sure. I think it's a green flag if you're clingy in terms of like effort.
Yeah.
You stay interested. You're planning regular dates. You're essentially just putting in the effort. What the red flag clingy is like toxic. It's bloody like, why didn't you text me? It's been 1 second since you saw them. Like, why didn't you text me? Are you with some other hoe? Like, something like that, you know?
Yeah. Like, where are you? Who are you with?
Yeah, where are you? Having their location, look, it's not a bad thing to have their location. I think if you're both consenting to it, again, consenting to their location being shared, yes. But if you're like, I need your location to see where you're at. No, I would run. I would run whoever you are. I would run
It's
away.
not worth it, sis.
It's really not. I think usually those people who have red flag clinginess have insecurities of their own from previous relationships, usually, or just are afraid of losing someone. And I think if you want to make it work, I think you got to understand it from their point of view, because you can always... I always had this mentality that you can shape people in your relationship, but you can shape them, but you can't change them.
Yeah.
Like, if someone wants to do it, if someone wants to do it, they would, but you can't change them. They have to be willing to, I guess. So yeah, I think there's a healthy amount of clinginess where you put the effort in, which is what you want. But there's also the bad side, which is too much.
I agree. And you know, like, this has nothing to do with it. Well, kind of, but this will be a whole another topic for a whole another podcast. But like the red flag clinginess when you're only like talking stage or something, or situationship, and you're not even.
There's too many of them now.
Like you're not even my man, and this is
and
what you want.
And it's going on for months, like for long periods of time. I would not put in the effort. Just run, like. Yeah. It's going nowhere. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everyone in situationships. There's no such thing in my world.
We're being realistic, okay?
Yeah, it's probably just the friends with benefits, I'm going to be honest. And you don't want that.
But yeah, like we said, like clinginess and all that stuff. I think those kind of people, and obviously it doesn't apply to everyone. Yeah. Because it could be deeper things like, I don't know, childhood trauma and all that kind of stuff. But like, some of these people, I think, do that so they could like seek some sort of validation. Yeah, and then they need to depend on someone. Yeah, just because.
Yeah, I think it's hard in that aspect because, in a way, you can't blame the person because it's probably past trauma. It most likely is, but it's also like sometimes it can be suffocating. I think. Like in my like first relationship, I think it was very much so like I was naive. I was a little girl. I didn't know what I was doing. And I think my partner at the time, they didn't know what they were doing, and I think he was very insecure with himself. And I think that made me insecure in our relationship. Yeah. So I think we fed off each other in that sense. And like he was always seeking validation, and so was I. And we were very like, it was like a very bad codependency. So codependent, I guess, like we would just, I don't know, like how to describe it. It just wasn't the greatest. It wasn't great communication that we had with each other. It was very like we would talk about things superficially, like on the surface level. You know, we wouldn't talk about why we were feeling a certain way, and which brought up a lot of fights naturally. And I think that's why I think it's very important to have open communication, because seeking validation, it's okay to do if you're like honest about it. If you're like, okay, I'm just seeking validation because I feel insecure in this aspect of our relationship. I think that's okay to bring it up like that. That's healthy. But when it's not healthy is, you know, when it gets toxic. Yeah. When you're seeking validation in a manipulative way. Yeah, if you're manipulating your partner, if you're, I don't know, trying to twist the story on them. Because I know, like, I don't know, you hear a lot of things about relationships nowadays that are very toxic. Yeah. But yeah, I think just don't feed off your partner. You guys are not each other's like only source of like life. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's very like needy, right? You want to, again, going back to like setting boundaries, having your own life, like remembering you have a life outside of your partner. Yeah.
You basically took the words out of my mouth.
But I think talking about it is very important. Seeing where the person's head is at before you just turn it into a fight. Because I think that's very easy to do but like the harder thing to do is being like, okay, let's sit down and talk about why you're feeling that way. And this is probably coming from my psychological background.
We love that.
I'm like, I'm going to psychoanalyze you until you tell me what's wrong with you. But I think that's very important because it's hard to do. But it's easy to start a fight, a petty fight, usually. But continue to prioritize each other and remember that it's you guys against the problem.
Yeah.
And if someone's just toxic, just leave them. Like, you find people that are just naturally toxic and they just can't get away from it. And it's just not worth your time.
We could talk about that in a whole other topic, like another podcast too. That'll go for like hours long. Because I feel like I'd have so much to say.
Oh, I know.
Oh, jeez. And I'm sure like many of the listeners and stuff, yous would have very interesting stories too. And we'll be like, wow. That's toxic.
Share your stories.
Yeah, we'd love to do a podcast on it.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
But yeah, I think in general, like the whole consensus? The whole consent? Like
getting
the whole
consensus.
The whole consensus for this topic is basically just effective communication.
100%.
Talking it out can probably solve half your problems.
Yeah.
Or if not most.
I think building that trust initially is very important. I think trust in like the initial stages, you got to build it up. I think it's very important to, as bad as it sounds, I think it's important to not share everything about you in the initial stages, because I think it's very easy for people to do because, you know, you're like, they're my best friend, like they're not going to tell anyone. But I think it's for your own sake. I think it's like you got to see if you can trust that person before, I guess, you start that relationship. So I guess before you even start dating, you kind of get to know them. And I think that's why I think being friends first, or like good friends and then a relationship, is a really good avenue to go down. Of course, like, if you date straight away, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think like going through the stage where you're like trialing each other out, you're building that trust, you're seeing like how the person is, their nature, is like trust building, and it's important. And you can see how they deal with things. They deal with like the issues that you guys have, or like the issues that you personally have, and how you resolve them together. I think it's very important. And keep that ongoing, and gradually as you go, you know, you share more of yourself. And then you get into that real emotional connection, later on, which I think is important. So I think gradually revealing more of yourself as you see, you know, the person fit, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want to put, like, this generation down or anything, but I think, like, in this generation, right, like, it's very easy now for people to have trust issues.
Oh, yeah.
Because social media, like, you know, dating apps,
100%.
like, people
catfishing.
People be taking screenshots and stuff. So,
oh my God,
like, you know, you'll never.
It's scary.
Like, no, you know, can I really trust this person, you know?
I think it's always important to remember whatever you put out on the internet is there forever.
Yeah, it's
like,
just going to be there.
Just, like, think about what you're putting out on the internet and, like, would you say it to a friend, like, first of all? Like, if you're not going to say something personal to a friend, I probably wouldn't say it to, like, someone off a dating app.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, to be honest. But yeah, just keep your private life, I would say. It's very important. But still, you know, share your emotions when you're feeling what you're feeling.
No, completely agree. So yeah, I think we've covered basically everything we wanted to in this podcast, which I really enjoyed with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we said, effective communication and all that stuff. Any last words?
Um, just, just try not to be in a situationship. Just please, you don't want to be in one.
Everyone has logged
And
off
it's
now.
gonna last longer than you actually want it to, so it's not worth it.
Oh yeah.
Be good friends first, and then I think get into a relationship.
Yeah.
Just avoid the talking stage because it's awkward. It's not great. It's not gonna turn anything to anything. I'm sorry.
And I know most of us know we can sense when there are red flag and stuff. So listen to yourself.
Listen to your gut.
Okay.
Ooh.
Don't be doing one of those ones. I can change you.
Yeah, the girl's gut is very important. Like, listen to it.
We're only looking out for you girls, okay?
100%.
Because we got each other. We got each other.
Of course, we got each other's backs.
Okay, well, to end on that note, thank you guys for listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or topics and stuff, everything's in the description below. As always, you can submit it anonymously.
Yes.
And we've got our social medias there as well. But yeah, until next time, bye.
Bye.